Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
Well, I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, we don't. That's where we have to leave it for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating, to the production team for putting it together. We'll do it again tomorrow. Right now, it's 1 o'clock. Here's Ondelambana with your latest news.
Thank you, Sakina and the team. On the top stories, MKP revives its court challenge against Ramaphosa's decision on Mchunu, and European leaders to hold a meeting with Trump today. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good day. The MK party has turned to the High Court in Pretoria in an urgent bid to revive its challenge against President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to place Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on a leave of absence. This after the Constitutional Court refused the party direct access in July, citing that the matter did not fall within its exclusive jurisdiction. Kenny Bapanga reports.
The party seeks to invalidate President Ramaphosa's related decisions, that is to place Mchunu on a leave of absence, the appointment of Prof. Faraz Kachalia as acting Minister of Police, and the establishment of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Former President Jacob Zuma in an affidavit argues, among other things, that the quote-unquote leave of absence maneuver is unprecedented and that it can never be to the benefit of the people to pay two ministers occupying the same portfolio. As a result, the MKP seeks to have the president's three related decisions reviewed and set aside. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The Department of Agriculture and Rural Development says 2 cases of foot and mouth disease have been confirmed in Viljoenskroon in the Free State. One is on a commercial farm, whilst the second case is on a communal grazing area alongside the border of the Northwest Province. Movement restrictions have been implemented on all farms within a 10-kilometer radius of the infected farms. The infected farms and communal areas have been placed under quarantine, and the department has prioritized vaccinations. Electricity and Energy Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa has expressed confidence that the country will not experience load shedding for the remainder of the winter season and through the coming warmer months. The minister gave an update on the state of the national grid in Pretoria today. Ramokgopa says these positive trends are a direct result of government's investment in Eskom's recovery plan. Among the key achievements cited by the minister, an improved energy availability factor and a reduced reliance on diesel-powered generation.
You've got 8 of the 14 power stations were performing over 70%, 1 or 2 of them even over 90%. This is a significant jump, a spectacular recovery from the lows of 48% energy availability factor. When we were appointed 2023, we did say to the country, it's short-term pain, long-term gain. Allow us to reinvest the money that we got from the national fiscus to get the machines going. These rotating machines can be problematic, so we needed time to fix those.
Scores of concerned Polokwane residents in Limpopo have embarked on a protest march to demand the resignation of Executive Mayor John Impie and the municipal manager Tusone Mogomoni. This after allegations of maladministration and corruption in the municipality. Impie is accused of receiving kickbacks amounting to millions of rands through his foundation from companies awarded tenders by the municipality. Tapelo Molepo is the protest leader.
One, we've got a municipality whose administration and council, they failed the people of Polokwane. We have seen a situation where in their monies that are alleged to have landed in the pockets of those that are in charge of the system, the same money that could have been used to create employment opportunities for the people of Polokwane. So we are very much disappointed as people of Polokwane. That's why we are marching today. So what is going to be happening today is that we are going to be submitting a memorandum to the Premier of the province that we as the people of Polokwane who have lost confidence.
European leaders are to hold a series of meetings today, including with U.S. President Donald Trump, to press the need to protect Ukraine's interests ahead of Friday's U.S. and Russia summit. They're keen to ensure any concessions Trump might beg in pursuit of a ceasefire do not compromise Ukraine's international borders or European security. The BBC's James Waterhouse has the details.
Currently, no European leader, including President Zelensky, has a seat at the table in Alaska on Friday. In his overnight address, Ukraine's leader said, "I don't know what they will talk about without us." He acknowledged several significant Russian advances in the Donbass region, which Russia mostly occupies, and has accused the Kremlin of trying to create its own information space ahead of Friday's summit. Moscow has in turn accused Kyiv of trying to disrupt the meeting. Donald Trump says he believes he really has a shot at peace by meeting his Russian counterpart.
Recapping the top story, the MK party has turned to the High Court in Pretoria in an urgent bid to revive its challenge against President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to place Police Minister Senzo Mkhudu on a leave of absence. I am Wandilambana for SAFM News Headlines at 1:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the
Tension and drama will go higher than the rooftop between the Atlas Lions and Chipolopolo. Both nations are chasing 3 points. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Witness the superb African contest, Morocco versus Zambia, this Thursday, 14 August at 4 p.m. Live everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
To be a great woman,
It is a wonderful anthem deliberately written for women by the iconic Annie Lennox. Annie, of course, being one of the members of Eurythmics. It is Eurythmics featuring Aretha Franklin on this particular one, released back in 1985. And in fact, this single featured on both the Eurythmics Be Yourself Tonight album and Franklin's Who's Zooming Who album, which both came out simultaneously in 1985. Here's the interesting thing is that originally, Tina Turner was meant to be on the song, but because of scheduling conflicts, she couldn't make the recording. And so instead, Eurythmics flew into Detroit and decided to record the song with Aretha Franklin. It did incredibly well at the time. And I was actually researching to see if the song has been covered, re-recorded and covered, as a different version or variation over the years. And from what I can tell, and I stand to be corrected, it hasn't really been re-recorded to the extent that I thought it would be. The Pointer Sisters recorded a cover version of it in 2005, and then it's featured here and there on various television shows performed by television characters, and it's been performed live at awards ceremonies like the Grammy Awards, but never really a version of it that was then covered and released as a record, by a different generation. So I guess, why fix it if it ain't broke? Eurythmics and Aretha Franklin coming through with sisters doing it for themselves. That is how we kick off the show this afternoon. It's Women's Month, and I needed a little bit of a pick-me-up. So, I thought, why not? Let's go there. Coming up on this afternoon's show, we're going to be hopping on a conversation that South Africans already ignited. I'm sure you've noticed over the last couple of days, there's been a conversation that has been centered around being coloured in South Africa and the coloured lived experience in South Africa. And this conversation was sparked after some damning commentary made on a podcast, Open Chats podcast, where there was really just an insinuation or a description by the host of the podcast of colored people as incestuous and crazy. There's been, of course, a heavy fallout for the podcast hosts after that conversation. But more importantly, it's brought us to having dialogue as South Africans around what it is to be colored, hearing the colored community's lived experience, also just sitting with a mirror to our own biases, perhaps, and our own shortcomings, about how much we truly understand about this section of South African society. And so we thought we'd have this conversation today and ask the question, being colored in South Africa, what is the reality today, and what does it need to be? In fact, Stages Page is coming up as well today. We'll let you in on some interesting productions, as we like to do on that particular feature. And then on the other side of 2:00, whilst still keeping with our Women's Month theme, the Golden Delight Foundation is launching a mobile mental wellness campaign to reach women that are left furthest behind. So we'll get to know more about what that campaign entails from the Golden Delight Foundation. But I'll tell you more about what else. There's a lot more coming up on the show as we move along. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on, and 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. If you'd like to send through a WhatsApp voice message, you are more than welcome to do so.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. Hashtag your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
Do you know what's hiding behind the colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by the 30th of September.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
It is indeed the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. Lines of communications are open if you want to be part of the conversations today. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on, and 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. If you'd like to send through a WhatsApp voice note, you're more than welcome to do so. We're joined in conversation by Calvin Gilfillian, who's the CEO of the Castle of Good Hope Control Board, and Tariq Jenkins, who is the convener of Save Our Sacred Lands campaign and human rights defender. And we're having a conversation around the realities and the lived experience of being colored in South Africa, what the reality is today and what it needs to be. And of course, this conversation is sparked by one that's been happening countrywide on social media after those controversial sentiments that were uttered by the host of Open Chats podcast that insinuated and described colored people as being incestuous and crazy. Damning, descriptive there. And whilst we don't condone, such defamatory, disrespectful utterances, one thing that podcast has managed to do, and I don't know if Calvin and Tariq, you'd agree, is open up a conversation, and I think maybe even a very necessary conversation around how we see each other, and specifically so how we see colored people in South Africa. Good afternoon to both of you. Perhaps let me start with you, Calvin.
Good afternoon, Bridget, and good afternoon, Tariq, and to you, Bridget, and to all of your listeners. Happy Women's Month, and so thankful that you can draw me in as a so-called colored person running the colonial building in a country to talk about this contentious issue.
I'd love to, open the conversation by starting there. Would you say this is a long overdue conversation? I mean, you use the term so-called colored, and as I was sort of framing in my mind, I thought to myself, well, I know I've spoken to folks from the quote-unquote colored community, those who identify or come to have maybe accepted just the identification labeled on them as colored, and those who often, like yourself, say so-called colored individuals because they stand in opposition of being identified as such. Would you say the podcast has brought us to a point where we can have a focused conversation around the colored community and the lived experience?
Absolutely, I agree with you. As much as there was a lot of fallout, a lot of insults, a lot of contestation, a lot of fights in the public space, I think anything that spark a decent conversation around identity, around race, around gender is important for me. I'm standing in a museum now at the castle where they've exactly tackled this issue, because the issue is long. It comes from Dutch colonial times and British colonial times. It comes the Union of 1910, and it's persisting with us today. Just a quick one. That's why I say so-called. Pre-1904, when the British were still ruling from this very space where I'm sitting, all so-called African people, whether they were Xhosa speaking, Griqua, mixed people, Khoi people, San, Kurana, were all called British colored people of the Cape. They were all called colored. And then came apartheid. The Union started to build, and they separate the so-called Bantu-speaking people as natives. The British called us natives, and all of them who were not like Bantu-speaking, as they call it, were then called coloureds. And then apartheid, of course, in 1949, apartheid came, and they didn't mix their words. They started to enact the Population Registration Act, Group Areas Act, Acceptance Amenities Act, and really enforce this coloured identity on a group who were not supposed to be coloured. That's why we, as conscious activists, will never accept the term coloureds. We are either Griquas, or we're either San, or we're either, and that's why we reject it. But my point, as bad as it was, the podcasters has put this issue on the agenda, because I don't think the state, and I include myself in the state, has successfully put this thing on the agenda so that we deal with it once and for all.
Tariq, if we jump you in here, it makes for an interesting time. We just 2 days out of the national dialogue, and perhaps top of the agenda in those top 10 items should be a conversation around the identities in South Africa and how we see them, how we come of them, and what needs to be reevaluated in as far as identity is concerned in the country.
Absolutely. I mean, we are talking about a national dialogue, and one of the key issues that are yet to be faced in any reasonable form is the fact that we live in a country where millions of Africans, under the term so-called colored, are unconvinced of our Africanness. And this is a critical dilemma. And until the issue, as my colleague has articulated really well, the issue of the San and Khoi and the tributed descendants of the diverse creolized ancestry that make up this tapestry of the so-called colored community are placed in the center of our national question. This idea of an African Renaissance will forever remain at a nascent stage. So I think really important is to have a dialogue on the complex and contentious acknowledgement of how the term colored is embedded with undisputed variants of complicity with apartheid and colonialism, and that any insistence on the term as an actual reference to human beings, given its historical record, is in conflict with the reality of the historical record. As was referred to earlier, the deployment of the term colored by British colonial authorities, which was augmented by a Dutch colonial strategy of divide and conquer, to, among things, to distance by forced legislation Africans from our right to claim on issues of genocide, land theft, identity misconstruction, language loss, cultural erasure, and in its place create this artificial creation of a racial category that is bent on de-Africanization. And this notion of de-Africanization is absolutely essential in terms of how we heal as a country and in terms of how we put as much energy and focus on the damage that the extent to which the descendants would inevitably one day rise up against 360 years of colonial imposition, would do so with a living reality of an amputated understanding of the South, of severed linguistic connection to language, to the soil, and in many ways, relegated to sometimes problematic expressions of revivalism, which in some cases, as you can see in terms of the language that is used, reminds us of the brooding imaginings of Wood and Rhodes and others in this vein. So I think, it is very important for us to kind of deal with this issue in as a primary centered part of our national dialogue. If we are serious about the concept of healing, we are serious about intergenerational trauma, and we are also serious about reparations, redress, and human rights for all. This term and the dialogue around this term has to take a very urgent and central place in terms of our conversation as a country.
And considering the complexities of themes around identity, and given the legacy of colonialism and apartheid, as you're both articulated, I mean, we're talking a combination of hundreds of years here of systematic reinforcement. How do we begin to deconstruct and perhaps reclaim, the heritage, the history of, and I apologize to keep using the term colored during our conversation. I guess like every other South African, it just becomes the easiest form of identity to grab when you speak of the community and the group of people. But how do we begin to reclaim then this sense of identity and sort of move it in the right direction?
Can I come in? I
Yes.
think we need a multi-pronged approach, because often these conversations around one element of identity is elevated to distract us from the core issues. The core issue is inequality, and that if you want to perpetuate inequality and the issue of landlessness, issue of unemployment, then you deal with these the issues that divide and rule, as my colleague Tariq has said. So on the one hand, we must deal with the spatial and the racial legacies of apartheid. I mean, the fact that we can speak of colored people because they are in colored areas still. A few of us have migrated into the other areas, but most of us are still spatially in those areas. And so the problems and the myths around us and the misconceptions around us and the perceptions and the branding of us as violent, as gangster, will always persist because we don't tackle the economic legacies of apartheid. But then also at the cultural level, the education system has failed us. I don't think that there's enough in the history books in the classes, because you don't have to only do it in history. Mathematics can be decolonized, can be inclusive. Everything. I think the entire society, whether it's through a dialogue, it's through education, through healing, through whatever, has to take responsibility. Why do we still have this thing? And lastly, we need to scrap these racial classifications from the books, because here's the problem. Even though it's stated on the books, in order for us to redress, we haven't sufficiently redressed it. So we have enough other markers of identity, like spatial markers, working class, whatever, to identify where should we redress. We don't need knee blankers or coloreds or Africans or Malay we don't need that to deal with the economic issues that's really at the heart of this. That a minority of people control the economy, and that because we as Black Africans are divided, we scramble for the crumbs. And that's my problem with identity.
Let's hold the conversation right there as we get into the headline news. But you're more than welcome to join us via WhatsApp or, of course, our in-studio call line.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, the case of 5 accused in the murder of Keenan, aka Forbes, and his friend Tibilo Mutswane has been adjourned to the 19th of June next for the continuation of the pre-trial conference. The Eastern Cape Department of Health and Provincial Portfolio Committee on Health will conduct oversight visits to healthcare facilities across the province. And the MK Party has turned to the High Court in Pretoria in an urgent bid to revive its challenge against President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to place Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on a leave of absence. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Who says talking never solves anything? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future. Under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All, we honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It is the full circle with myself, Bridget Masinga on SAFM. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086 0002032 is the number that you can call us on as we have this conversation centered around the lived experience of the community in South Africa that is identified as coloured but not self-identifying as coloured. One of the things that I often say about doing this show is that it's a constant learning journey for me as well. And I think this is what we do as a nation, right? We get to interrogate a whole variety of themes around being South Africa and challenge our own wording and our own thinking. And even though I might not get it correct today, it has opened up a channel of looking at it a little bit deeper. The other thing that I wanted to sort of, if we had to bring it back to the present, and bring it back to the experience of being coloured in South Africa or part of a community that is identified as coloured in South Africa. There's a lot. I feel as though, and I stand to be corrected, I feel as though the collective community oftentimes suffers being marginalized, misunderstood, and very much mischaracterized as to who colored folk are. Tariq?
Yes, absolutely. And I think this stems from the extent to which the miseducation and, as you said, the mischaracterization of coloredness is something that stems from colonial times. Through the de-Africanization project, what was aimed at was not just the divestment of a sense of indigeneity from black communities, and in this case, we're also dealing with indigenous communities, San and Khoi, and a range of groups that were made invisible under the term colored, but also how this kind of messaging has been spread and perpetuated across groups in terms of the perception of what a colored entity or a so-called colored individual might be. And I think the cruelty of having this artificially created by colonial design identity construct, which basically was bent on removing from the indigenous self the linguistic connection to the soil, spiritual ancestral connection, and also language is a very important aspect around the epistemic violence that this overall term creates. So, for example, when one looks at discussion around, languages in this country, why is Khoikhowab not a compulsory language in the Western Cape? Why is Nama not a compulsory language in areas where, as we know historically, these were areas that, prior colonialism had indigenous languages? And so the failure to immediately address the issue of descendant communities having access again to their mother tongue, so that we are able to, build these kinds of connections, these kinds of linguistic and spiritual and cultural bridges, is all part of a very necessary, form of restoration and restorative, praxis, which a lot of which, for example, is done in some of the curation, at the Castle of Good Hope, for example, with my colleague on the call, where that place is in fact going through a decolonial framing in terms of how it has become a nexus point for San and Khoi communities, for example, to engage in their meetings. I've been there many times. A lot of now ceremonies are there and so on. And it's important to take these militarized places like the castle and other places that are so symbolic of colonial conquest, and then to imbue them with the voices of the invisibilized in order, for us to kind of essentially get, as, on everybody's sort of conversation and everybody's tongues, this understanding and realization that the so-called colored community is an indigenous African part of this continent, and this idea that the so-called colored community is somehow not an African community is a very violent assumption. But it's also something that needs an incredible, slow, deep, and very hard work within our communities ourselves in order to deal with issues of the various complexities, especially psychologically, in terms of, our own acceptance of our blackness and own acceptance of our Africanness. And this is because of the extent to which this kind of Woodwardian and colonial and apartheid indoctrination has a mainstay within poor working class, communities where education is still a severe issue. And so I think it is a multi-pronged approach, and an approach that has to, again, and what facilitates this approach is that this entire discussion must be centered in our national debate.
Yeah.
It has to be centered and must be encouraged and supported by all aspects of our society and all branches of government, nationally and regionally and internationally.
Yeah. As we wrap it up, Calvin, in our last minute and a half, is there a sense, or I get the sense, and I've always had the sense that the so-called colored community in South Africa, in its diversity, but as a collective, feels as though they are being marginalized when it comes to the current discourse of the country, and they're not being included, rightfully so, as South Africans.
That's a very interesting question, and it's probably right at the level of perception. And people often, say to me, "Yeah, you are there, you're the CEO of the council, but we apply for this, we don't get it." And then I tell him, for every colored CV or interview that's been rejected, probably 5, 6 to 10 so-called African will be rejected. And so it's a collective, yes, and there are people who still say, I'm proudly colored, and I don't deny them the right to self-identify as colored. I managed to get you from starting to call us colored at the beginning to so-called colored in your last question. So it's fine. So it's an ongoing task. I mean, and professionally, Tariq has said, this is what I can do in my professional life here at the castle. I bring people here. In fact, it's strange that they mention it just on top of me where I'm talking from. There's about a group of 100 Khoi people. If they're outside, they will be called colored people. Here, they call themselves Khoi people. So there's progress in terms of my professional life. And then in the household, it starts in the household. How do you relate to your daughters? If they ask, "Pa, what are us?" And I tell them, your roots are you have African Khoi and San roots, but there were also 2% European or Chinese in you. And explain to me, the whole world is mixed. And so I'm not sure why we elevate one tiny marker of identity to this. It unfortunately is like that, and as Tariq has said, we need to deal with it in all our corners where we are.
Well, listen, gentlemen, I think there's been one win today. You've moved me in a different direction. It will be interesting in my real life conversations as I encounter friends, and I've got plenty of friends that come from the community, and I start going, the so-called colored. I would actually want to actively watch their response and see how we engage once we start sort of consciously challenging this identity. But thank you for the conversation, much appreciated, and I get the feeling we'll be delving into it again at some point. That was Calvin Gilfillian and of course Tariq Jenkins. It's just gone 2 o'clock. We're going to take a quick pause and then we'll come back with Stages Pages.
The reigning champs, Amapagania, want to demonstrate that they have a consistent winning formula. But 2024 semi-finalists, Masandawana, say this time around they will advance to the final. This is the MTN 8 First Leg semi-final. Wafa wafa! Catch Orlando Pirates versus Mamelodi Sundowns on Saturday, 16 August at 2 p.m. live on SABC 1 and SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent No and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingio-Jello, Willem Siini, Gabby Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
Channel your inner warrior woman this August on Expresso as we celebrate and empower women across South Africa. From trailblazing heroines to inspiring entrepreneurs, we spotlight stories of strength, resilience, and change. Join us for powerful panel chats, wisdom wellness, and bold conversations on equality, GBV, and women's rights. This Women's Month, rise with the women leading our nation forward. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. only on S3.
Stages, pages, screens, and more with Bridget Masinga.
All right, a quick one here as we celebrate the unwavering spirit of woman this Women's Month through the enchanting La Bella. And this is a collaboration between the Cirque and La Rouge, and it's going to be staged at the Cirque at Cresta Shopping Centre from the 22nd until the 27th of September. Nathaniel Perez, who's the director, joins me now on the line. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me.
Only but a pleasure. Okay, La Bella, tell me about this production.
Oh, how much time have we got? So it's a full woman cast, first of all. And this is actually a show that's very, very close to my heart. I'm actually an instructor. I teach pole dancing, burlesque, and aerial myself.
Okay.
I've been teaching for 18 years. And so this story was actually inspired by the women in my classes. So the ladies come to me and tell me from all walks of life and tell me their stories, their scenarios, what happens at home, what they're searching for, what they're longing for. And so taking my surroundings, I put this show together, talking about women, what women have gone through in terms of love, lust, passion, control, manipulation, and then basically finding their true selves, finding their true confidence once again. So we go through quite an emotional story, and of course there's glitz and glam, and it's beautiful, but there's a lot of kind of tear-jerking moments where women actually can relate in some part or shape or form to either being swept away by this charming big spender and he's fabulous and he's beautiful and it's lust and it's passion and it's love, or to find that you become a piece of property. You become someone that's controlled, someone that doesn't have a voice any longer, someone that belongs to somebody else, and you lose yourself. And so through this journey of her realizing that this is not love, this is not healthy, she's lost a sense of who she is, she fights her way through it, and we touch a little bit on gender-based violence, a little bit, not to get too dark into the show, but we touch a little bit on that and how she fights her way through it and doesn't recognize the person she has become because she's changed so much.
Yeah.
And then through her strength, she decides she's going to go on this journey once again to find fame, to find fortune, and, you know, kind of following the materialistic lifestyle in a sense, and the glitz and the glam of being a star. And she says, I don't want love. I don't want a relationship. I don't want somebody to own me. I'm going to own myself.
Yeah.
And she goes through this journey again, and it's amazing. She's on stage. She's a headliner. And towards the end of the show, she comes once again to this, it's a beautiful moment in the show where she actually has a mirror and she reflects and looks at herself once more in this fabulous dress and says to herself, but I once again don't recognize who this person is because I have the love from others, but it's not real. They love the idea of who this person is on stage and who she can be. And so once again, she's shattered in her life and has to go back to finding who her true self is and being authentically her in order to understand and receive love for herself and from others again.
I wonder,
yes.
Nathaniel, having said that you're a pole dancer and a burlesque instructor yourself, because it sounds like quite the intriguing tale of loss and, as you say, passion, betrayal, and drama and rediscovery. Are there also elements here that sort of take in these skills? Are we going to see a little bit of pole dancing and burlesque coming into the show?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have to make it entertaining, of course. So you can expect a lot of aerial performance, flying pole. So that's actually where the pole is suspended in the air. We've got trapeze acts. We've got lots of dancing, a live singer, a live violinist. So it's very theatrical. It's very almost burlesque cabaret style. So, of course, to tell the story, and because it's a theatrical production, and we want to invite guests, male, female, everybody to watch the show, it needs to be something that's entertaining, but also that has a strong message, and especially in Women's Month, it has a very strong message. So in between all of that, you'll find that message. But absolutely, you can expect powerful women performing their hearts out on stage.
So the performance is on, La Bella is on stage from the 22nd until the 27th of September. Just inform us in terms of the ticketing. Where do audiences go? Because it's almost a full month run.
Yes. It's about 5 weeks run. We run every Friday and Saturday. And you can actually go to the Cirque's website, so the cirque.ca.za, and you will see under their show productions, La Bella will be there, available to book online.
Wonderful stuff. We appreciate the time with you. That was Nathaniel Perez, director of La Bella, which is being staged at the Circuit Cresta Shopping Centre. So if you're in Joburg, this one is for you from the 22nd of August until the 27th. And as you heard, it's a production that's presented in a more burlesque cabaret style, telling a gripping tale of a woman journeying through identity, through betrayal, through rediscovery and all the things that and the themes that a lot of women can identify with in a life lived. It's approaching 10 to 2 o'clock. We are just going to take a quickie and then we come back on the other side and we find out how nearly half of young South Africans can perhaps exploit IT skills to turn the situation, or rather how young South Africans can exploit IT skills to turn the situation around of being unemployed. Those stats came out yesterday. 33.2% of the country now unemployed, and a large majority of that is young South Africans. So we'll be in conversation around that on the other side.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
West Africans Niger are hunting for nothing but 3 points, while Bafana Bafana are pumped to achieve a win. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Niger confronts South Africa on Friday, 15 August at 7 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
FlySafe's Business Booster is back to help elevate and celebrate small local businesses. Enter now at flysafe.co.za. Tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 standout enterprises to win 10 return business class flights plus brand exposure across FlySafe's various platforms. Whether you're making, creating, or innovating, we're here to help your business not just take off, but skyrocket. FlySafe, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
Okay, so the stats came out yesterday, 33.2 now unemployed in the country. Vast majority of those are young people who are actively seeking employment, but with no prospect of being gainfully employed. So we thought we would catch up with Judy Robertson, who is the director of Forbes Mazar Institute of Development, and talk around, their thinking that perhaps IT skills could turn this situation around. How are you doing this afternoon, Judy?
Wonderful. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you. On your show.
Thank you so much for the time. I mean, it's, the situation is dire. At this point, there is no other way of putting it. The situation is dire. We've got a very stagnant, non-growing economy, which means as a result of, we've got a number of South Africans unemployed. A vast majority of those are young people who are well over 40% mark of being unemployed. How do we then tap into in-demand IT skills in order to ensure that they are workplace ready? But I also think we young people might challenge our thinking now and say, we are workplace ready, but there's just no work. So how do we begin to create work?
Well, thank you. Yes, we're very fortunate today. It's our first graduation of our digital apprenticeship program that we've been running over the last 12 months. So we have 50 young future-ready youth going into jobs in the sector right now. So that's 50 towards that percentage, which is great. The job, you have to always manage supply and demand. And currently there's jobs that are on the rise in demand, and there's jobs that are on the decline. And the jobs that are rising in demand are from the ICT sector. They are from the digital futures, the digital future world of work. The top growing roles currently for employment are things like cloud engineers and cybersecurity specialists, data scientists, AI engineers. And you really need to first raise awareness of our youth to these careers and the skills that they need for them, and then enable the access for youth to match to the demand. And that's a very good way of curtailing some of that unemployment rate.
The role of multi-sector collaborations in tackling some of these unemployment challenges?
It is so critical. We have at least 5 or 6 joint collaborators in the work that we do, from public and private partnerships to cross-corporate collaborations to cross-educational sector, public and private collaborations. It takes multi-sector and multi-player collaborations to give a young person from underprivileged areas a full route to competency that gets them ready for jobs in the IT and digital sector. So it's something that we have to do together, but it's perfectly possible.
When you talk about that full route, to get them ready for the job market, apologies, what would that sort of look like, and what would that entail? Whether through the work that you do at your institute with your collaborators, and also maybe things that other folks in different sectors should be considering?
No, for sure. We have to take a almost whole society approach to developing talented youth for jobs. And what that means is understanding how far apart the experience and access to experience and networks are for our youth to what actually is required in the world of work. So training young people or equipping them or giving them the necessary experience and support is way bigger than an education in content or technical skill. It's understanding and helping overcome the socio-economic challenges that they face just getting to training or just getting to work. It's understanding that there's a limited exposure to people in their network that have had corporate or real world exposure on jobs in the ICT sector. and it's an acknowledgement of the reality of how long it takes to develop a combination of deep technical skills as well as the social problem-solving skills necessary to work in the new world of work. So it takes everybody from the schooling system to equip them with the right critical thinking skills, the right self-confidence, right through to the transitioning into education and into the workplace, and the support all along the way, both softer skills, professional skills, and technical skills, with an added amount of care and support based on from whence they come.
Just maybe as we begin to wrap up, if we could reflect a little bit on a more personal note, how your program that is offered through yourselves and your partners, how has that managed to transform the lives of some of your graduates?
We have 50 young people that were all drawn from quintile 1, 2, and 3 schools, so from very impoverished communities. We brought them into a workplace for 12 months where we combined supervision, coaching, mentoring, real-world experience, real-world work, together with international, globally certified qualifications and certs in Microsoft, and something called Sophia, which is skills for the information age, because we truly believe that South African youth have the capability to work anywhere in the world, and digital jobs are global. So we feel that we've equipped them with the opportunities and the skill set to work anywhere at an entry-level ICT job.
For our listeners that are listening, we know that young people are willing and able to take up opportunities that are presented for them. When do you open your next cohorts, and how do young people ensure that they get ahead of that registration or application?
That's wonderful. We're taking new cohorts every quarter. You can follow us on LinkedIn, the Forbes Mazars Institute of Development LinkedIn, or connect to us via our Forbes Mazars website. Or anybody can just reach out to me, actually, on judy.robertson@forbesmazars.com. And if you're a talented young person who's got a fire in the belly and has an interest and passion for digital careers, we'd be happy to either work with you for one of our programs or direct you into another program that we collaborate on.
Lovely stuff. Judy, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much for your conversation and for that information. That was Judy Robertson, who's the director of Forbes Mazars Institute of Development. And you can find them on forbesmazars.com. Is it Forbes Mazars with an S? No, without an S. It's without an S when a person writing it on the screen. Or you write it with the S. Oh, we just don't pronounce the S. Forbes Mazars with an S.com is where you can go, and you can also email Judy, Judy.Robertson, and her Robertson is spelled Robison, Judy.Robertson@ForbesMazars with an S.com. The 2:00 news is coming up, and then on the other side of that, we are going to catch up with the folks from the Golden Delight Foundation. They're launching a mobile mental wellness campaign to reach women that are in the furthest corners that are oftentimes left behind.
Thank you, Bridget. On the top stories, court postpones case of 5 accused in AKA murder to next year, and Ukraine president in Berlin for talks with European leaders. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good day. The case of 5 accused in the murder of Keenan, a.k.a. Forbes, and his friend Debelo Mutwane has been adjourned to the 19th of June next year for the continuation of the pre-trial conference. Forbes and Mutwane were gunned down outside a popular restaurant in Florida Road in Durban 2 years ago. The pre-trial conference has been postponed to allow the judge president to appoint a judge and to iron out any matters before the main trial commences. Nantlagani Pomagwaza reports.
During the pre-trial conference, Judge Jacqueline Hendricks called out the states for yet again failing to furnish the defense with documents. This time, it included the affidavits of 45 witnesses who are expected to testify. The defense argued it needed the affidavits to prepare for trial. but do not necessarily need the names of witnesses that will testify. They stated that this will assist them in preparing questions when the matter goes to trial to challenge the witnesses' testimony or find inconsistencies. Both parties came to an amicable agreement. The accused remain in custody. I'm Nonhlakani Pamakwaza in Durban.
The MK party has turned to the High Court in Pretoria in an urgent bid to revive its challenge against President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to take place Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on a leave of absence. This after the Constitutional Court refused the party direct access in July, citing that the matter did not fall within its exclusive jurisdiction. Kenny Mapanga reports.
The party seeks to invalidate President Ramaphosa's related decisions, that is to place Mchunu on a leave of absence, the appointment of Prof. Faraz Kachalia as acting Minister of Police, and the establishment of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Former President Jacob Zuma in an affidavit argues, among other things, that the quote-unquote leave of absence maneuver is unprecedented and that it can never be to the benefit of the people to pay two ministers occupying the same portfolio. As a result, the MKP seeks to have the president's three related decisions reviewed and set aside. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The Eastern Cape Department of Health and Provincial Portfolio Committee on Health will conduct oversight visits to healthcare facilities across the province. This department is facing a number of challenges, including human resource management, infrastructure and medical supply availability. Health Committee Chairperson Koliswa Vimbayo says they will be implementing solutions to affected healthcare facilities.
Today we are visiting facilities, district hospitals and primary healthcare, which is clinics, to engage on facility management on issues that are affecting those particular facilities. And we had criteria to choose the facilities that we are visiting. Now we're engaging so that we can, in a specific manner, deal with the issues that affect the facilities. And out of getting the solutions, we will generalize those solutions.
Stats SA says retail trade sales increased by 1.6% year-on-year in June. This is a slight increase compared to 4.3% the previous month. The largest contributors to this increase were retailers in textiles, clothing, footwear and leather goods, as well as hardware, paint and glass. Notando Magudulela reports.
On a month-on-month basis, retail sales were flat in June compared with May 2025. This followed month-on-month changes of 0.2% in May and 1.1% in April. Retail trade sales increased by 3.7% in the second quarter of 2025 compared with the second quarter of 2024. The largest positive contributors to this increase were retailers in textiles, clothing, footwear, and leather goods and general dealers.
Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Berlin for talks with European leaders ahead of Friday's US-Russia summit. The video conference will also include US President Donald Trump. The leaders are expected to warn against concessions that would compromise Ukraine's international borders. The BBC's Nick Erdely has the details.
They will broadly agree that they want Ukraine to have a say over the future of its borders. The bigger job for them today, though, is to try and influence what President Trump is thinking ahead of that summit on Friday. So I suspect that in that call later on this afternoon, they will be trying to hammer home the point that Ukraine needs to be involved in this process. Whether that works, I think, to be honest, is anyone's guess. We've seen President Trump's diplomacy veer in different directions over the past few months, haven't we?
Recapping the top story, the case of the 5 accused in the murder of Keenan A.K. Forbes and his friend Dibelo Mutswane has been adjourned to the 19th of June next year for the continuation of the pre-trial conference. I'm Wandilambana for SFM News Headlines at 2:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
It is time to experience spectacular football talent from 19 African nations. East Africa is on full vibration. From Tanzania, Kenya to Uganda, the pitch personnel are hungry for continental glory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Witness Chan 2024 on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 from 2 to 30 August 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
4-time World Rugby champions, the Springboks, want to emphasize their winning mentality. However, the Wallabies are going all out to upset the reigning global champs. This is the Rugby Championship. Experience world-class rugby action. South Africa collides with Australia on Saturday, 16 August at 5:10, live on SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The SABC is pleased to announce the launch of the new self-registration platform where vendors wishing to do business with the SABC can self-register on our internally developed platform. Vendors are able to access this platform via www.sabc.co.za under e-tenders or self-registration at etender.sabc.co.za and follow the prompts. Visit SABC social media pages for more information.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Bamanyare sugu baromba male kawaba zeza amale wore bazeza male mitadi galadona ma wore galadona mala asanga bazenindo ikagelo masayala kake baga keneye take fisha ewa mitanga tairi kesro tairi Bubakari soro tairi Ismaila soro tairi Salama soro kakanga bazeni kala amale kakeshi buniala nale kake taibasiye anale itake manieri ewa don kanumbagaluye anale jonimbe ni kanumbagado nale nale sewa nale seya nena malide ipemba anale sewa nale seya newa malide dia Madine kurasugu ni nomba nale kawangu ninda anale yabasa yabasa. Nale, bayuro sayuro sayuro sa. Nale, bayuro 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 ba. Nale, joni menni kanu bagate wa. Nale sewa.
I must admit that all the ladies make me want to go to, Mali. They really do. They really do. Wasn't there that big Mali Music River Festival? Or no? Was it Mali? Let's Google. There was a. It could Mali, Malawi. I could be confusing the two. Lake Malawi, I think it was Lake Malawi. Yeah, it was Lake Malawi. Yes, like I had. I knew there was a big river festival. I wonder if it's still running. Once upon a time, it was the thing to do. Omusangari coming through, still running. The people that whisper in my ears. Omusangari is a singer-songwriter, and she is absolutely incredible. She's an advocate as well for women's rights. So it's only but just that we play her during Women's Month. She's kind of like the Bamako Contessa there in Mali. She's like, yeah, that's her space. She's the queen of Bamako music. And she'll be actually coming through for the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. She's going to be live at the Conga stage come the 26th edition of the festival, which is kicking off on the 26th of September. And you know that we are partnering up and we are going to be at the Dipala stage, one of the 4 stages that are being presented at the festival. And you can get your tickets via joyofjazz.co.za. You know what would have been a real trip? We've got influence. Joy of Jazz people listen to us. What would have been a real trip was to have Omu Sangara and Fatu in the same year. I mean, we had Fatu Mata Diawara last year, but it would have been a real trip to have them in the same. Imagine a night where you feature Fatu Omu, Michelle Ndengochelo, Amanda Black, Simpiwe Dana, Brenda Mtambo, and all of them do like a thing on stage. Ooh, that would have been great. That would have been amazing. So we just put a little nugget there for the Joy of Jazz people. Think on it and then give us credit when you execute it in a year or two. So it's 2:15. We are going to get into this conversation now with Trisha Chetty, who's the marketing manager at Golden Delight. We are going to get an understanding on the new app. Oh, we've changed our guest. We have changed our guest to Shannon Franks, brand building manager at Golden Delight. And we're going to get an understanding around this app that has been developed, which is a mobile mental wellness app that is aimed at reaching women in the deepest of remote villages and informal settlements, which are often overlooked when it comes to a conversation around mental health. How are you doing, Shannon?
Are
you good? Shannon?
Hi, Bridget.
How are you?
Hi, Bridget. Good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm fabulous. So happy Women's Month to you.
Happy Women's Month to you, too.
Thank you. So in our country, we know that the stats say close to 30% of people live with depression 1. And many of those are women, and in particular, they are mothers.
Yes.
But the sad part is that a lot of the time also a good majority of these women are being left out of conversation around mental health, and they also don't have the ability to access the needed resources.
Yeah. Thank you so much, actually, for having me, Bridget. I'm really grateful to be here today with yourself and your listeners to have the chance to share more about our Far From Okay movement. I'm from the Golden Delight Foundation team, and as you said, especially during Women's Month, these conversations really matter so much. So just to give you some context into how we came up with this name or the campaign, it's the truth for so many women, especially our moms and our mothers in rural and township communities. They're carrying so much and often silently. So we felt we had to begin by saying, we see you, we hear you, and you're not alone. So it's really starting from a place of honesty. Yeah.
Shannon, I just want to get you off speaker. I don't know if it's possible to get off speaker, just so we can have a crisper line for the remainder of our conversation.
No problem. I've removed my earphones.
Okay. I think it sounds
Is that
better already. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So before we even unpack the essence of the campaign, let's also get an understanding around the type of work that Golden Delight Foundation tackles and the importance also of working within women communities and focusing on mental health issues.
Yes. So mental health is still a very taboo subject in many communities, even for myself growing up. So for us, it's really about trying to meet our women and our mothers where they are. And sometimes it means starting with a simple open conversation, not even going to therapy for now, but just starting with the conversation. And in South Africa, I think the reality that we've seen is that many of our women, most people don't always get the help that they need. And a stat that was very close to our hearts was about 93% of people with mental health needs go untreated. And when you look closer, about 2/3 of public services are actually in urban areas, while the greater need is also in rural and township communities. So for the Golden Delight Foundation, this has always been close to our hearts, wanting to bring care closer to our mothers and our women. So we're actively trying to do that through this campaign.
And you are focused on taking the help to the most remote of villages and informal settlements. And these are often overlooked spaces, right? These are women that are often forgotten.
Yes, correct. So what we're really trying to do is bring this space closer. So what we're trying to do is also work with local therapists, community leaders, and faith-based counselors. We also feel that those kind of key opinion formers are the people who really understand the culture, the language, and the unspoken rules of the women that we're trying to reach. So the hope is to make the whole experience feel much more familiar and safe. I can go into also more detail about the actual activation. So we will be launching a mobile wellness clinic, which is really dignity in motion. So it's a safe space on wheels where women can have free one-on-one private therapy sessions. And we're launching it this Saturday, actually, at the Bapalong Community Center in Vaal, in Gauteng. And that's day one of it being fully operational. So essentially, we're trying to bring care or mental health wellness closer to our mothers.
Yeah. Let's pause there for a quick break, and then we'll come back because I do want to hear more about these mental wellness clinics, where they'll be rolling out and the kind of services that they'll be offering. But let's take a quick pause and then we'll be right back. It's just gone 2:20.
They said women belong in the background, but we've always been the backbone. We drive economies. We innovate, care, build, and break barriers. We don't just raise families, we raise nations. But how do we build a thriving nation while violence still silences our voices? Erasing gender-based violence and femicide from our history isn't a dream. It's a decision, a shared one, a necessary one. This Women's Month, let's rise, not just in celebration, but in solidarity, because South Africa is strongest when every woman is safe. This message is brought to you by the GBVF Response Fund and proudly supported by the SABC.
FlySafe's Business Booster is back to help elevate and celebrate small local businesses. Enter now at flysafe.co.za. Tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 standout enterprises to win 10 return business class flights plus brand exposure across FlySafe's various platforms. Whether you're making, creating, or innovating, we're here to help your business not just take off but skyrocket. FlySafe, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
SAFM celebrates its 89th birthday this month by giving listeners an exclusive opportunity to attend the prestigious Joy of Jazz taking place at the Sandton Convention Centre from the 26th to the 28th of September 2025. To stand a chance to win these sought-after tickets, simply SMS SAFM 89 followed by your name to 41391 and stay tuned to SAFM as we could be calling you. SAFM is the official media partner for the Dipala stage at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. Entries open from the 7th of August and close on the 31st of August 2025. Winners will be randomly selected and called from the 1st of September 2025. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. T's and C's apply. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Having a conversation around access to mental health resources and assistance. And we are in conversation with Shannon Franks, who's the brand building manager for Golden Delight Foundation. And they are mobilizing with bringing these resources to women in remote villages and informal settlements. Now, the country's public mental health services remain overwhelmingly urban-centric, right? Over 66% located in the cities, in the urban centers, even though we know that a vast majority of the country's women live far beyond urban centers. And you spoke around, you are launching this weekend the Mobile Wellness Clinic. Tell me a bit more about this initiative. Where are you planning, which regions are you planning on rolling out these mobile clinics, and what kind of services will be offered to women?
So yeah, as you said, we're launching for the first time this weekend, Saturday, but we plan to take it across the country. So even though this Saturday will be the first day of it being fully operational, we plan to then take it to the Western Cape as well as KZN, where basically that the help is also needed. So essentially, it's going to be a mobile wellness clinic, essentially, where we will then be taking the the mobile unit to our communities and the areas where it's needed most. So we find that our mothers and those that are in need can also call in and let us know where help is needed the most, and then we will then take the mobile unit to those affected areas.
I was going to ask you, Shannon, in fact, if you were taking the unit to areas that have been pre-identified and determined as being areas that are under-resourced and in most need for mental health support services, because obviously we have the data in the country, that speaks to mental health, that speaks to causes of things like anxiety and depression, whether it be unemployment, poverty, criminality, GBV being probably at the top of that list. So you're able to hone in and say in KZN, in this region, in this community, is where we see the highest number of GBV violence being inflicted on women, is where we see the highest numbers of rape on young girls. It's where we see the highest numbers of unemployment of, young women. And so we can then deduce that, depression, anxiety, and all those sort of mental health issues that associated with that would be present. And that's where we go. So how will you begin to determine the areas that you will penetrate with the units?
That's a really good question. So we're actually actively working with local therapists, community leaders, and faith-based counselors. So we really find that because in the community, even though the stats are there, but obviously working with local leaders and people in the community are able to give us the feedback that we need to be able to understand which of the communities most affected. So we will use the stats that are available, of course, from government and that's available online. But we are trying to actively work at grassroots level to be able to then find the communities that are most affected. But we're still obviously in the early phases. We've just launched. So we're still piloting and seeing what works and what doesn't. So this Saturday will be like a big day for us where we get to experience the first time this comes to life.
And by way of the app, because that is the other resource that you're taking out there. We've got a high digital penetration in the country, obviously. So how do we ensure that folks know about the apps and folks in the communities where you need them to know about the app and the resources that it offers?
Yes. So we're currently, at the moment, it's a physical service that we're offering, and through our partnerships with our various NGOs and those kind of things, we are exploring app-based services. But what we found is the physical resources are still something that we're wanting to get right first. However, we are exploring kind of app-based digital platforms as we go. Just from our general research, the physical one-on-one sessions are quite beneficial at first.
Yeah.
I think we will look to embarking on other platforms later. Yeah.
I can imagine that to set up a mobile mental wellness unit that sort of roams around is probably a costly task to undertake. Yes. So who have you partnered with, or are you calling for more partners specifically from private sector to come through and partner with you all in maximizing your reach?
Yes, so that's definitely the idea. It is a very initial, our startup costs are definitely initially a bit high, but we really tried to keep it very simple, not very cost heavy, but trying to do it in a way that we can get very quickly to the people that need it the most. So we are looking to lobby various NGOs and organizations. However, for now it's just us, but we're looking to partner with a lot of partners, especially through our connections that we've made so far. There's been a lot of overwhelming kind of positive response. So I think we will definitely get the traction, especially in terms of partnering.
Absolutely.
Soon.
And just finally, the services that you're going to be offering, the counseling services, what do those look like?
So they are one-on-one private therapy sessions. They can range from whatever the woman needs to speak about or is going through. There's no kind of limits to what they can be exposed to. We've got a great range of therapists that have signed up. There's about 3 of them. One of them is from the VAL space. Her name is Lerato, and she's we're very excited to have her on board. So they're all very excited and in this space already and doing this work currently. So they know, they're also able to speak, understand the language, the nuances and the specific unspoken rules that the community faces. So that it'll be a much more comfortable space for the women that are getting the therapy.
Well, listen, we look forward to seeing how this expands. I think there's a great need for it in so many communities in South Africa. We appreciate the time. Shannon Franks, Brand Building Manager for Golden Delight Foundation. It's 2:30. It's time for us to get into the headline news, and then on the other side of that, we'll come back with our kids programming.
This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All. We honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, Home Affairs Deputy Minister Njabulo Nzuza says he's in talks with the Public Works Department to determine if a new office would need to be acquired in Germiston, east of Johannesburg. The case of 5 accused in the murder of Keenan, aka Forbes, and his friend Tibelo Mutswane has been adjourned to the 19th of June next year for the continuation of the pre-trial conference. And wildfires continue to afflict parts of Europe, including the Iberian Peninsula, Greece and the Balkan countries, amid an ongoing heatwave. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
The National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So at this point in time, if a person is a foreign national who's documented, you're obliged to provide healthcare service if they arrive at a hospital. If the same person is a foreign national who's undocumented, do I take it, you are also obliged to do the same thing?
For two reasons. Yes, because of the Constitution, we cannot discriminate against anybody based on the immigration status. That's number one. Number two, our healthcare workers have signed an oath when they graduate, Hippocratic oath, which says they will never discriminate against any healthcare user based on whatever reason.
Foster Mohade, the spokesperson for the Department of Health.
Ashraf Gada on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Who says talking never solves anything? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
SABC Education, in partnership with the Department of Health and Ilifa Labantwana, bring you episode 37 of the Side by Side drama season 4, focused on registering baby's birth and child support grant early.
Say and say, side by side.
Singama Africa Kenya you Tina Singama Africa Kenya you Tina Singama Africa Kenya you Tina.
Come in.
How are you doing today, Imange?
Oh, I'm feeling much better, Mum Cindy.
Oh, that's good. Have you decided on a name for the little one?
Yes, I've actually decided to call him Mandla because he will be my strength.
Oh, what a beautiful name, Sisi. Mandla must give us strength for the day.
Hey, but why is that?
Pam, we must have Mandla registered for a birth certificate.
Oh. But won't they need his details? You know, the father's details. Mr. Makwetu. Siyabong.
Well, usually they do, but given the circumstances, they might be able to make exceptions for you. But you know what I'll do? I'll talk to a social worker. We might need an affidavit from the police though. Okay. They will also have his ID number. And I'll come with you. We'll make sure your boy is registered.
Oh, thank you so much, Mum Cindy. It's a lot of trouble just to get a name.
Oh, I know, my child, but it's very important. Every child has a right to a name, a nationality as well. Registering early means accessing a child support grant sooner.
And the birth certificate?
Pam, it's more than a piece of paper. It's a key piece to his education. Healthcare, grants, even voting one day. It's his right. And well, We'll get to it, no matter what. So let's get ready so this young man can access all his rights.
Thank you so much, Mom Cindy. Asambeni.
Hi, Tola. How's it going?
Hi. It's a daily battle, but Nespiliswa is my ally in this war. We're winning, little by little.
That's the spirit. You know, I'm also living with HIV.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, it's incredible. Have you ever heard of the U equals U concept?
U equals U. Nespiliswa mentioned something about it, but I wasn't really paying attention at the time. It was when the reality of the situation didn't sink in yet. So what's this U equals U?
Okay, that's U equals U stands for undetectable equals untransmittable.
Oh.
It means if your treatment suppresses the virus enough, you
Sure.
can't pass HIV to your sexual partner.
So the medication is like blocking the virus?
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
The virus is still there, but it can't harm you or harm anyone else. As long as you keep up to date with your treatment, you're controlling HIV, but you're also reclaiming your life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that means I can have a normal relationship.
Yes, you can. U equals U gives us that freedom. Okay, it just keep the viral load undetectable, and you can live your life without fear.
I'm sticking to my meds, no matter what. Oh, by the way, I'm hitting the gym later for the first time in ages. You care to join? Maybe I can show you a few moves, you know?
I'd like that.
Sure.
I never knew that there were so many grants available. It's just a lot to take in, Mum Cindy.
Oh, Imange Mtanam, I know. But our government provides various social grants to support everyone in need. Like, for example, the Child Support Grant, Care Dependency Grant, and many others.
Mom Cindy, tell me more about the Child Support Grant.
Oh, Pam, it helps caregivers of children under 15 with financial aid. It's only 300 Rand a month, but there's a means test to test if you can qualify for it.
Oh. Mum Cindy, what's a means test?
Oh, Imange, it assesses your income to see if you really need the grant. If you earn above a certain threshold, you won't qualify, unfortunately.
And what if your grant is still being processed?
Oh, Pam, then you can get temporary relief through food vouchers or money for 3 months while you are waiting for the grant.
How does one apply, Mum Cindy?
Oh, Imange Mtanam, head to the nearest SASSA office with your IDs and your mom's ID as well. Marriage certificate if you are married, proof of your income, and your child's birth certificate.
Oh, I'm glad that we have Manda's birth certificate sorted now.
Yes, we must put it in a safe place here at home.
So tell me, Mum Cindy, what happens if we lose it?
Your birth certificate?
Yeah.
Then you have to pay a fee for a new one. But so far, you have not paid a cent because getting a birth certificate in South Africa
for your child is free.
I know exactly where to keep Mandla's birth certificate safe.
Yeah, how about some tea? We've had a long day.
Oh, yes.
Pam, that would be lovely.
Singama Africa, Kenya, you, Tina. Singama Africa, Kenya, you, Tina. Singama Africa, Kenya, you, Tina. Singama Africa, Kenya,
Join us again tomorrow as we sit down with an expert at 2:30 to further discuss registering baby's birth and child support grant early. Right here on SAFM.
Side by side.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
In the final moments, we're going to catch up with Faith Edmonds, director of the Kalami Foundation. They're supporting the LGBTQI plus community in rural areas and small towns. How are you doing this afternoon, Faith?
I'm very well, thank you, Bridget. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Happy Women's Month, and we thank you for the time that you've afforded us today. Let's talk firstly, Kalami Foundation. Give us some background.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. Kalami Foundation is a queer-led organization. It is founded by 3 Black queer women, namely myself, Faith Edmonds, my partners, Tembiso Tipe, and our close friends, Kifilo Maine. We built this foundation literally from our own pockets because we've realized that waiting for government and private sector delays our progress as LGBTQ plus people in rural areas and small towns. Kalami Foundation champions economic inclusion and visibility in rural areas and small towns. And how we do that is through many of our programs, including the safe spaces that we create.
And this conversation, as it sort of pertains to rural communities and small towns, the conversation around inclusion, the conversation around visibility. I mean, what is the lived experiences and the challenges that the LGBTQI plus community faces there? And I think considering that a lot of us have the perception that rural and small town communities are very conservative in many ways.
Thank you so much. That is such a beautiful question. We face a lot of challenges as the LGBTQIA plus people that are living in rural areas and small towns. Like you said, it puts us in a place where you are not able to fully express yourself because of cultural barriers, because of stigma, and because of stereotypes. In rural areas and small towns, we do exist, but we are not really given that chance or the access to fully express ourselves, or just the chance to be able to be afforded opportunities as other people. So in rural areas, it is still so difficult. just being able to hold your partner's hand, it's something that is still being seen as taboo. You are put in a position where you constantly have to somehow validate yourself by explaining your sexuality, explaining your gender identity. So the challenges are very vast. From some of our members under Color Me Foundation, they have faced tremendous challenges with being queer within rural settings and small towns. Some, it has really affected their confidence. Some, it has really affected the kind of opportunities that they wanted to undertake. And this is why Color Me Foundation exists.
And how do you begin to challenge that, as the foundation? Then also, how do you bring in community leaders, traditional leaders, folks whose opinions really shape a community and that really matter to a community to advocate for the change that is required?
Well, I think our voice is our power, and this is why we appreciate platforms such as SAFM. We use our voice, we go out there, we speak about the community, we make sure that we raise visibility, we raise awareness, and we challenge traditional leaders, we challenge the government, even though we have not really received any form of help, but we do go into spaces that we know it's a bit difficult for an LGBTQ plus person to exist. And we just make sure that we are loud, we are proud, and we keep on pushing the foundation.
From a safety element, just from curiosity, because oftentimes when we speak about the lived experience of the LGBTQI plus A community, safety often becomes one of the themes that is recurrent. From a safety element, how would you gauge in these communities?
Safety in rural communities and small towns, it is still a major issue. We are not really protected. We have a lot of cases where young people call the Color Me Foundation to just speak about their experiences in rural areas and small towns where they are being stigmatized. Some are being physically abused. We have a lot of undocumented hate crimes in rural areas and small towns. And we feel like our safety is not being prioritized. We feel like we are constantly being put in a position where you have to relocate from where you are born or where you want to exist to get better opportunities, to be able to be understood, because in rural areas there's not enough visibility, and with not enough visibility, then our safety is always compromised.
By way of the campaigns that you do, because you do run a lot of programs, right? Can you walk us through some of the work?
Okay, I'll walk you just through 4 of our programs, which are our flagship projects. We have Camp Ahanang, which means we are building each other. It is going to be taking place in Mafikeng this weekend from the 15th to the 17th. So this camp just fosters solidarity and resilience. It is creating a safe space for LGBTQ plus women. And within this camp, we just want to unpack identity, intersectionality, and the raw truth of what it means to be unapologetically queer in spaces where stigma and culture often silence us. We also have the Be Free to Be You campaign, which is a bold, igniting conversation with higher education and rural communities about freedom of identity and self-expression. So with this program, we challenge the norms, we confront discrimination, and we inspire institutions to create safe spaces, inclusive spaces for LGBTQ plus students. And then we have the Bukoni Bupirima Entrepreneurial Capacity Strengthening Program, which is a program that is dedicated to LGBTQIA plus entrepreneurs that are seeking opportunities, that are seeking access. And with this particular program, it is a tool for us to combat the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide by providing entrepreneurial development and opportunities, with the belief that economic inclusion is a human right, of course. And then the last project that we have that we are going to be launching very soon, which I'm very excited about, is the Northwest Rainbow Recognition Awards. So this is the first of its kind in the province. These awards will honor trailblazers, advocates, and allies who are advancing LGBTQIA plus inclusion in rural areas and small towns. So those are the top 4 that I can literally think of at this present moment. But we do have other programs that are pushing economic inclusion, visibility, and access for our communities.
Yeah. I just want us to pause there, Faith, and take a commercial break, and then we'll come back on the other side. It's 10 minutes to the top of the hour.
The Angolans and the Congolese have a glittering 90 minutes to demonstrate who will dominate the Central African Derby. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Catch the thrilling clash between Angola and Democratic Republic of Congo this Thursday, 14 August at 7 p.m. Live everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Last year's finalists, Stellies, are on a mission to graduate to this year's final, while Babina Nuku want to do the talking on the battlefield. This is the MTN 8 First Leg semi-final. Wafa wafa. Don't miss out on Stellenbosch FC versus Sikukune United on Saturday, 16 August at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, and we are in conversation with Faith Edmonds, director of the Color Me Foundation, and they're supporting the LGBTQIA plus community in rural areas and in small towns. And I wanted to find out from you, Faith. I mean, you mentioned the fact that this organization, Color Me Foundation, was initiated by yourself alongside two friends and colleagues, with no support, little to no support at all from government around this. What kind of interventions would you like to see, perhaps, or interventions that need to be done in order to push the conversation of visibility and inclusivity forward, especially in rural communities?
From government and any private sector, I think what we want is a seat at the economic table. I think our community is very neglected when it comes to opportunity and access. I think economic inclusion is being taken as a luxury or a privilege, and for us it is a human right. We truly believe that with entrepreneurship, with access and with visibility, we can be able to fight or to combat the many social ills, including gender-based violence and femicide, that the country is currently facing. We are asking for open conversations with government, with local government and provincial government. We have been going from pillar to post, knocking in so many departments that don't even see the need to just reply to our emails, but we stand strong because of one of our core values is resilience. So we are very resilient, and we will not stop to fight for our communities in rural areas and small towns.
And I mean, I think those communities probably need the intervention and the resources even more, because they run the risk of being forgotten. The LGBTQI plus run the risk of being forgotten and pushed to the fringes.
Definitely, that is very true. Our communities are undocumented in the rural areas and small towns. Even if we look at big movements such as your Johannesburg Pride and all these other Pride events that are happening in the country, you rarely see people from rural areas and small towns being given access to opportunities. So because of we are in these places, we do run the risk of history forgetting us. And this is why we go with the tag that visibility is our currency, and wherever we do an awareness campaign or we meet with our community members, taking into consideration that just being out there as yourself might pose a lot of threats to your well-being and to your life. But we say if our voices are not going to be heard, then we are going to be forgotten. And this rich history particularly in the Northwest Province, because of that is where we predominantly operate. There's a lot of history about LGBTQI plus people that we feel like their stories deserve to be heard, their stories deserve to be seen, so that the younger generation from rural areas and small towns can see that they had people that lived before them, and we were able to get to where we need to be.
Well, look, we hope that this conversation continues to grow in the furthest corners of the country and in the most remote corners of the country. Is there plans on taking Camp Akhanang perhaps beyond Mafikeng?
Yes, definitely. We are currently working with Forum of the Empowerment of Women, and we are hoping that with our partnership, we would be able to roll out more camps within the country. But our priority as Kalami Foundation would be to have those camps in rural areas and small towns. I think it is a very fresh initiative where we can be able to gather our members and just empower them, create an environment for healing and for connection, because on a daily basis, our challenges are so different, and we feel like other organizations, when they speak to us, they just want to push a certain mandate that sometimes it doesn't really apply to a queer person. So with Camp Akhanang, this is the first of its kind to happen in Northwest. We are crossing fingers that whoever that is listening to this conversation, they are going to get in touch with us so that they can be able to help us with resources. We have a team of young people that are very resilient, and like I said, we are not afraid to dig deeper into our own pockets, to put something on the table for the betterment of queer people in rural areas and small towns. But we do need the help. There's only so much that we can do.
Absolutely. Faith Edmonds, thank you so much for your time. Director of the Kalami Foundation, and they support LGBTQI A+ communities in rural areas and small towns. We have reached the end of our time together. That's all the money that there was in the tiki box today. Jukebox is Ashraf is standing by. He's going to be with you from 3 until 6 with his team. From our end, we literally are signing out in the next minute. You know what I wanted to ask you guys? Maybe I'll ask you all tomorrow, because I got some advice from my team. But maybe I'll ask you all tomorrow. When's our next family meeting? Tomorrow. Okay. I'll steal some time in the family meeting tomorrow. And I want the parents to sondela a little bit closer, especially parents that have newborns and small children, because you still remember. The ones that have children that are grown, they don't remember. The ones that have toddlers, they'll remember the journey that I'm journeying right now, and they'll have some sage advice to give me. So tomorrow, please remind me that I left the show wanting to say something in order to solicit advice from you guys. But we'll leave it there for today, and then we'll be back with you tomorrow. Inshallah, God willing, we do it again.
SAFM celebrates its 89th birthday this month by giving listeners an exclusive opportunity to attend the prestigious Joy of Jazz taking place at the Sandton Convention Center from the 26th to the 28th of September 2025. To stand a chance to win these sought-after tickets, simply SMS SAFM 89 followed by your name to 41391 and stay tuned to SAFM as we could be calling you. SAFM is the official media partner for the Dipala stage at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. Entries open from the 7th of August and close on the 31st of August 2025. Winners will be randomly selected and called from the 1st of September 2025. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. T's and C's apply.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Thank you, Bridget, and the team on the top stories. Trio refused leave to appeal in Jocelyn case, and Ramaphosa calls for more investment into water. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good afternoon. In news just in, Jacquina Polis, Stavino van Ryn and Kelly Smith have been refused leave to appeal by the High Court in Cape Town. The three are serving life sentences on charges of human trafficking and 10 years for kidnapping following the disappearance of 7-year-old Jocelyn Smith. We'll have details in our next bulletin. President Cyril Ramaphosa has called on investors to make substantial contributions to water investment on the continent. Ramaphosa delivered a keynote address at the African Union AIP Water Investment Summit in Cape Town. The aim of the summit is to attract investment and show off bankable projects in an effort to address severe water scarcity in large parts of the continent.